Hi everyone, Nyron Burke, CEO and co-founder of Lithero here again, just to share with you some things that we've learned in terms of success criteria. And the reason why that's important is it's not just about the technology. At the end of the day, you implement technology, including something as game-changing as AI, because you want to improve the performance of your business, or the performance of your team, right? And so it's important to define, what do we mean by that? What do we mean by improving performance? What does success look like? And so from doing lots of engagements, lots of different types of companies, both on the pharma side, on the agency side, there's some things you've learned about how to define success and some best practices that we thought would be helpful to share with you as you're thinking about implementing Lara or any kind of AI platform. So the first one, and it might be really obvious, is that you need to set your success criteria in advance. You'd be surprised how often projects start and there's no definition of success. We're already training Lara, already on the way. We're still trying to figure out what does good look like for this company? How do we define success? And so the first recommendation is to do that up front. Even before you sign the contract, you should be having conversations about how do we define success. The three things that we often talk about is cost optimization, speed to market, and the last one, of course, being compliance, right? But how do you measure those? What does that look like for your company? You gotta set that in advance. The second thing is to actually align your success criteria with how the decision makers are actually gonna make the decision after you're done testing and learning, right? Sometimes the folks who are managing the project are very often not the folks who are gonna make the ultimate decision. And those decision makers can have different ideas about how they define success. And so we've seen cases where there's a mismatch, where you do have success criteria, but actually the leadership has something else in their mind that you haven't tested for. And then you're scrambling to say, oh wow, we didn't actually look at that particular point. We already ran the pilot, and now we're trying to back into, can we answer that question? And so it's not only important to set the criteria, but make sure you align that criteria with what the leadership really wants to see. And you've asked them the question, say, hey, is this exactly what you want? Is this what matters for your objectives and what you want to accomplish with this initiative, right? So that's the second thing, is making sure there's good alignment with the decision makers. The third thing is acknowledging dependencies that you don't control. You can define success criteria, but very often those criteria can have dependencies. So let's say you're targeting cost, right? And maybe you say, hey, if the AI does X task really well, I think I'm going to save X millions of dollars. But maybe there are multiple things that go into that cost at the end of the day, and so you can only control maybe 20% of that cost, not the whole thing, right? And so really having a clear conversation with your team and with your budget holders about, hey, I think if we do these things, as an example, the AI does this, and we change the process in this way, then we can accomplish this full savings. But if we only do the AI part and don't change the process, I can only get 20%, right? So it's acknowledging what the full range of things that are necessary to happen for you to really drive those cost optimization, speed optimization, compliance benefits, right? It's very often not just about the technology. And so as you set your success criteria, you have to acknowledge the broader dependencies that might drive that particular criteria. The fourth thing is try to define what's gonna happen when you meet it, right? Or what's gonna happen if you don't meet it, right? Sometimes the case, it's an iterative process, and not meeting a criteria might mean you change something and rerun the test. That's one outcome. It could be that if you don't meet a criteria, then you're gonna stop. You have to define that up front, right? Or if you meet a criteria, then you're gonna scale, or maybe you're gonna add a brand or move to a different team. Talking about what happens after the test, whether good or bad, is also really important, because that aligns objectives. If your expectation is that you're going to do this test, hit these numbers, and scale across your entire company, but your decision maker thinks you're gonna do the test, hit the numbers, and add one brand, then you might have a problem, right? And so you wanna align around not only what the criteria are, but what's gonna happen if I meet those criteria, or if I don't meet those criteria, what are we gonna do in that situation, right? So just defining what happens afterwards is also important. The other thing to do and to think about is making sure that we're dealing with people, right? So even when we're dealing with AI, anytime you introduce a new technology or a new process change, you gotta give people some time to for the dust to settle, right? And so you don't wanna start your measurement on day one. You wanna acknowledge, hey, we might need a couple weeks or even If there are multiple people rolling on over a certain phase, make sure that roll-on phase, that onboarding phase is done, and then we start doing our measurements. So we want to do our beginning measurement, we want to do our midpoint measurement, our final measurement. Remember, you always, however you're measuring, always have a time for the dust to settle, people to get used to it, ask questions before you start really capturing those KPIs, right? So you have that allowance time. And the final one I want to recommend is just make sure that it's realistic. That we do want to change and transform our companies and reach market leading potential. But sometimes you just got to start with, hey, let's just get this thing changed right here, right? It doesn't have to be a complete, we're going to drive the stock price up 50% with this one change. You can start with something smaller that is still helpful and that moves you in the direction of really strong financial performance, but it can be a stepping stone process as well. So the final one is make sure it's realistic. Now, at the end of the day, our goal is to help our customers to be better, right? One of our mottos is get more done, right? And for us, that means helping you accomplish what your objective is. But it's up to you to define what those objectives are. But we are so excited by what we're doing with our customers. Thank you for listening. And if you want to learn more or talk about how we can help you with your speed, cost, compliance objectives, email us hello@lithero.com, hello@lithero.com. Thank you.